The 8th Annual Beer Fest. Learn more right after this.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome to Community Watch. Greg,
Uh,
how are you?
I'm good.
Are you?
Good. About to talk about
It's been
Good subject.
hot outside lately, so it's a good time really for a cold beer. What'd you say?
well, you know, I don't drink beer, but
Yeah, but
it's a
you
good
could,
ti- it's a
but you
good-
could.
It's a good time for something cold.
Well, the Beer Fest is coming up. Have you been?
I have not. I'm guilty. I have
Yeah.
not. I have not attended one yet.
Yeah. I've only attended one.
And that's surprising.
It surprised me too, really. I bought tickets several years, and then things happened, and I had to like donate them to needy people. There were a lot of needy people to donate them to, but I was able to go one time, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
You're just not a dedicated drinker.
I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. But the Beer Fest is a fundraiser for the Romeo Area Council for the Arts, and has turned into kind of a
Its own thing, right?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be joined after this break by Gord Hubenthal, who is the primary sponsor of this year's Beer Fest.
Okay.
And so he knows about the Beer Fest, but he's also opening a beer-related business in town soon that we want to talk about.
So he brought beer with him?
I assume he carries it with him always. I would think, you know, it's like students carrying notebooks. You know, I think it's a thing you have to have with you at all times. So
Always have your product.
I would think. I would think. So we will be back with our guest right after this. Do not go away.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals.
with opportunities outside of the classroom.
Where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits to a bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the university system of Georgia.
My college offers courses that fit my schedule.
It's where excellence begins.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we're very happy to have with us today Gord Hubenthal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's about time you got on the show.
Why?
That's probably
That's
our
the first
fault,
time
though.
ever.
Well, I'm sorry, Gory. It's nice to meet you. It's not our fault.
I'll take total blame.
Yeah.
Greg. I'll take total blame. You are, until fairly recently, you have been exclusively, at least I know you as a carpenter of some renown, local renown.
Well, yeah, maybe infamy
Well,
for some, but yeah, I do woodworking is primary. Carpentry is involved in that, but not so much.
well, see, you know the terminology enough
Sure.
to know when I'm saying it wrong, but
Sure.
So woodworking in like the lathe type things, making crafts, or actually building.
Building from the ground up,
Right.
tables, chairs,
Okay.
furniture, some cabinets.
Because when I think carpentry, I think more like houses, foundations, and
Right. But I mean, I do mill work, so you get into carpentry there, doing doors, jambs, windows, things like that. So you do.
And I mean, you are really an artist in that craft, because you know what the work that I've seen of yours is pretty remarkable.
Well, thank you. Yes, I mean, I have a degree in art, which I use in the woodcraft of mine. Yeah, so it's.
So we're gonna have to have you back sometime and talk just about that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I can bring some examples and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But today we got to talk about beer.
Yeah.
Which I also know real well about. I know a lot about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good because
I am a beer drinker. I hear some of us aren't.
No.
That's okay.
But let me ask you though, because I know I've heard a lot over the last several years about microbrewery, and I know I think there's been some debate or some microbrewers that have been trying to get the legislature to change the law, because to allow them to have more freedom with actually selling their product versus the kind of gimmick you have to do now and go take a tour and whatever.
Right. Well, they can't sell their product from their facility. You have to buy a glass and then you get to sample for free. But you have to buy that glass or buy into the tour. Something you purchase something, but they don't actually sell the beer. What it is, you have to run through distributors. It was put in place a long time ago, right after Prohibition, I think, is when it came about, and when they started letting things, the end of Prohibition came about. But they put up to avoid monopolies on the industry. They made it where you had to go through specific distributors. So you can be a distributor, but not a manufacturer. You can be a sales, but not a distributor. So you have these three parts to it. And it was just to keep monopolies out. The problem is that monopolies are going to come anyway, because free market seeks the monopoly at times. So it's just, Budweiser kind of grabbed hold, and then you had Miller. But even then, just allowing a little bit of flexibility with some laws that would help the smaller guy out a little bit.
Now, you used a term when we were talking before we started the show, craft beer. Is a craft beer and a microbrew, is that connected? Is that similar?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was the same thing. We discussed art of wood. You have the wood art. Well, the same thing. You have people that are very designated in their mind to producing the amazing tasting beer. It's not, and be consistent with it, but not always just the same thing, cold lager. They want ales. Lagers are great. Lagers are wonderful. Two different kinds of beer. But it's smaller batches, a little more time, a little more thought put into the process than giant, huge vats of fermenting alcohol.
And I know that there's some states, and North Carolina comes to mind, where microbreweries are just everywhere. And Georgia, I know, has a few, but I guess they're increasing in number.
Well, I can think right off the bat, there's one in Athens. Let me think of the name.
Would Terrapin be considered?
Terrapin's in Atlanta. It's considered in Atlanta. I think they brew elsewhere too. They have several places they brew. You have Sweetwater. You have Reformation. You have Monday Night. You have.
Is Orpheus?
Orpheus. Orpheus is the one in Athens. Okay. Yeah. Orpheus. I'm pretty sure Orpheus.
So for us non-beer drinkers, what makes a microbrewery a microbrewery? And because when I think of microbrewery, how can they be, you think, so I'm thinking micro small, but how small is small, or how large is small?
Well, you could have micro and macro. Microbrew usually is distributed within like a 3 to 4 state area. If I go to Pennsylvania, where I'm from, I'm not going to get Sweetwater or Terrapin. It's just they don't have it there. So, but I can get Budweiser, or I can get some of these bigger. Yuengling would be a good example of a big brewery that's not quite a monster like Miller or Budweiser, but smaller scale, macro brewery. But they have different places they brew beer within this country.
So it has something to do with the range,
the
that
quantity
it's available?
of beer they sell. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Budweiser, I'm assuming, Anheuser-Busch brand is I guess the largest you can get to that size.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so they everywhere, you know.
I mean, different states have breweries, Budweiser breweries. I mean, we have them here in Georgia, right? So they have Minneapolis as their headquarters.
Okay, so then like I guess if you take a national brand, so they have breweries, several locations, several states, so they're national everywhere. So I'm guessing the microbrewery is more local.
Local, they may have some brewed in another state if they distribute in that state, but yeah, not national scale, not a national scale.
So when I hear the term microbrewery, so it's not that it is like someone at their home. I guess it could be, but they could be 3 or 4 states and still be considered a microbrewery.
Yeah, they could even be up to. I mean, they could do half the United States, but it's still not a national. And then it's just a quantity of beer they sell. I mean, I think that a Blue Moon, I think, is pretty extensive as far as where you can get it. You can get it pretty much anywhere, but it's not. It's still a microbrewery. Okay. You know, it's not huge.
So it's more the volume that's actually sold.
Volume, sales, manufacturing, all that goes into the idea of a microbrew. Think of it as a smaller batch brewery. They're not they're not making hundreds of thousands of gallons or hundreds of millions of gallons. They're doing maybe 100,000 gallons. You know, it's a lot less volume.
And the beer that is featured, or at least the time that I was there, the beer that was featured at the Beer Fest, it would be microbrewery beers.
Yes, craft beer, artistic beer, yeah, stuff that someone has thought of. You know, you get coffee stouts and all that. I mean, you can really. Budweiser doesn't have. Although Budweiser is interesting. Well, now owned by InBev, which is a foreign beer now, technically.
Yes, I did know that.
But they've stepped into that market because they see that there is a growing market there. So you have different things like Shock Top is actually an Anheuser-Busch beer, but it's a micro brewed beer. So they have some of those too. And another distinction is, you know, typically craft beer is not it's not pasteurized, whereas big beer companies pasteurize their beer. A lot of it has to do with just shelf life, trying to get it as long as you can. Whereas craft beers, if you don't put it in the fridge, it'll actually ferment longer, taste a little different. It changes.
Now I notice I've seen a lot of commercials and I see more beer, these ales, you know, these red apple ales, these type of things. Is that part of the microbrewery or is that more?
Yeah, so there's ciders that go with it. Ciders go with the beer industry, kind of. Same concept, I think. You're using fruit and yeast and rather than grain and yeast.
Okay.
But
I'm learning a lot, man. I don't.
Now the Beer Fest, which is the 24th,
right,
a Saturday,
correct,
September the 24th. I know that there is a sort of general admission option.
Yeah, so if you get your ticket before the 24th.
Yes.
If you get it before the 24th, I think it's $35. At the gate is $40. VIP tickets, which include River Dog tour on the boat. You get to go up the river on the boat and drinking beer, I guess.
That's
Sounds
cool.
pretty good to me. I think that is $65. And you get in early into the gates and try a special beer that they have limited quantity of. So you get a VIP tour of it. So it's pretty nice.
We're coming up on a break here. When we come back, we'll talk more about Beer Fest and also about a unique new business that you're close to opening.
Hopefully,
want to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Stay with us. More beer talk after this.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're having a conversation with Gord Hubenthal about beer. The Beer Fest, which is a fundraiser for the Rome Area Council for the Arts, is coming up soon, September 24th. And there are multiple levels of entry.
Right.
The $35 general admission, and then
pre-gate. I mean,
pre-gate,
that's
because if you just show up that day, it's $40.
Right, $40. Yeah.
And then $65 for the VIP. Is
Correct.
That right?
Yeah. 100 different beer to try. There's over 100 different beer you can try. That's how many microbrews.
100 beers.
100 different types. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot. You can.
So
you got to be careful.
Small amounts.
So if I say, when you say taste, what's a taste?
I think there's 4 ounces. Of course, you don't have to have 4 ounces. You can have less than 4 ounces.
That.
I mean, you're just tasting it and you know, just seeing what you like. Obviously, you can try all of them and fall down and become conscious, or I don't recommend that. They do have designated drivers. It's a great time. I mean, they have people walking around, water for people. There's cigars. There's food. A couple of food vendors, so you can enjoy a really nice day out with friends and
if
obviously
there's
adult fun, clean.
If there's a particular beer that you like, you can
try it several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
yeah.
So there's
obviously keep conscious that other people want to try it too, probably.
Right.
And if you like a beer, you shouldn't just try to get that beer all to yourself, because then they'll say, well, only one person's buying our beer and nobody gets to try it.
Now, where is it this year?
Heritage Park.
Heritage Park, and that's where it has been.
It has been.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll remind you of those details, and I guess getting the tickets in advance, you need to go to a website.
Rome Beer Festival.
There's a Beer Fest website, I would think.
I think so.
Rome Area Council for the Arts, RACA.
You could probably get on there, link it through there.
I know it's on Facebook.
It is on Facebook.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the Foundry.
So the Foundry was an idea that a friend and I came up with, and my wife as well. We've been talking about it for a while. And talk doesn't get you very far, so you have to start doing something about it. But initially we were going to put it inside a store, and it just didn't work out. Things fell through with that. So we found a place downtown. We thought downtown would be great. We didn't want it on Broad because you're carrying 64 ounces of beer at the maximum, maybe several, to your car. And doing that several blocks is not necessarily the funnest thing. So we found a place off of North Fifth Avenue. Great location. Want to be an art district, trying to revitalize that area as well, throwing some money at that building, a lot of money. And fixing it up nice for people to come in, have, again, taste some beer, and go home with it.
Now you need to kind of explain this concept, because it's the Foundry Growler Station.
Right.
And Growler was a new concept to me when I first heard that you were thinking about this. It sounded more like, some kind of animal thing.
Yeah. No.
But it's a beer thing.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So a growler is a glass or just a container, usually specified in 32 ounce, 64 ounce, or 2 liter bottles of glass, porcelain, or ceramic, metal, whatever you want, whatever that's legitimate to put beer in. And then you fill it up off of a tap, so you're getting draft beer that you seal the lid so you can take it with you. You won't get pulled over for an open container. It's sealed unless you open it. I can't tell you anything about it. I don't recommend it. You can go home with it, drive home with it as a sealed container, and you have draft beer at home. You can pour it out.
So the growler is the container.
Is the container.
And so the concept is this allows you to take home a decent amount of draft beer
for your friends and have a good time. The other thing about it is you can return the growler and get a refill. You pay for just the beer. You don't have to pay for the container again. So it's a green way to get your beer. You don't have tons of bottles you're throwing in the garbage every week if you drink a lot.
So
sign you up, right?
I just try to help the local economy. That is all. I mean, that's my
Is that
motivation.
wrong? No, I'm just saying.
So will the foundry, if this, this is the foundry's primary function, but there'll be...
There'll be other things. We'll have craft beer. We'll probably have some snack stuff like that you could also take home with you. We'll do tastings as well, specific things. We may do some functions out in our parking lot. We have a parking lot, which is why I went to Fifth. You know, we actually have a place you can pull up, park, walk in, come out with your beer, and you don't have to worry about parking tickets and if you're there a little longer than you need to be, or walking so far that you.
So your building is right on the corner of 5th and
3rd. North 5th and West 3rd.
North 5th and West 3rd.
Yeah, Barron Stadium, West 3rd.
Okay.
Yep. Right down from the new hotel.
Look, it's not great location.
I'm telling you, just need some people in them. Yeah.
So, and you plan to open within a month or so?
Well, hopefully this coming month, September. Okay. Yeah, I'm really shooting for that. I was actually hoping the end of this month, but there was no way with construction I could do that. So it's just been a very slow process, working full time and then doing this as well, getting this ready.
Because this is a side business for you.
This is, yes, at this point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the main purpose for people to come and take the beer with them, or both come and just enjoy it there, or both?
Well, you can, the idea is to taste different beer and then take it with you.
Okay.
So think of if you go to a liquor store, package store, you look at this beer and you're like, man, I would love to get that. I don't want to buy a 6-pack of that beer. Well, in my place, you would be able to taste it before you take it with you. You could say, well, let me try that beer off that wall, whatever, and we'll open it up and let you try it.
So would the beers be coming from, are they your beers, or you?
No, I have to go through distributors. So I'll go through the distributors and get beer in, and I'll have bottled beer as well. So, and the bombers, which are the larger bottles and small bottles. Make your own 6-pack kind of thing, and the draft beer, which I'm hoping to have like 35 taps to start.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Give you some selection.
Yeah. So, for folks who are, I guess, somewhat intimidated by all of the craft beers that are available now at places on Broad Street, they have quite a few choices. What is the difference between like a Pilsner and an ale and a porter and things I've left out even?
Okay, so you have two basic types of beer. You have lagers and ales. A ale is a top fermented beer. Can be the yeast in it ferments at the top, causes foam, lots of foam at the top. Not the head from the beer, but just a foam of fermenting. And then you have the lagers, which are colder brewed or colder fermented, which bottom ferment. The yeast settles in the bottom and ferments. So it's a little different, and you have more of a fruit, pineapple, sharp taste with ales. You have a crisper taste with lagers. There's more lagers brewed than there are ales, but ales are easier to brew, being as they are not temperature sensitive. Lagers are very temperature sensitive, so you have to brew specifically with lagers. A Pilsner would be a lager. Pilsner is actually a lager that has a lot of hops in it. Hops are designed to prevent beer from going bad, and people started liking the taste of them. I like to drink my flowers. The hop is a flower, so I like to drink my flowers.
But I mean, there's some beers that are pretty intense with hops. Like
IPAs. So the Indian Pale Ales. Indian Pale Ales were developed for the troops. The British developed them for the troops in India. They made them so they would had lots of hops, so they could stand that sea voyage and the heat and everything else. Get over to India, and the troops could drink their beer, their rationed beer, and it became a big thing. And now it's there's a scale they have, an IBU scale, International Bittering Unit scale.
Wow.
And so you have all these things. It's like hot peppers, you know, all this extreme food stuff. So you get some in, they'll bowl you over with how many hops are on them. It's kind of fun if you like that thing.
So what about the darker beers?
So dark beers are can be ales or lagers. Either way, it just is a more malty, less on the hops, more dark grain.
So that's what a porter would be.
A porter would be, yes, a lot more malt in it. Porters have a sweetness to them. They go good with cigars. Ales or stouts can be sweet, but it's usually just due to higher alcohol. It sweetens it. But stouts are real heavy.
So it's a science and an art.
It is a science. It's very scientific.
Yeah.
If you don't get those proportions right, you can really mess it up bad.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here thinking, wow. Like, what's an example of a porter, a beer that's a porter?
I know that I have had several porters made by different companies.
Yeah, lots of breweries make porters, IPAs. I think the standard fare is you make an IPA, you make a pale ale, you make a straight ale, brown ale, you make a stout, and you make a porter. Some of them make pilsners, but yeah, standard is. And those are basically just weights and flavors. And then you go from there. You can get like a coffee porter, which is not as heavy as a coffee stout, but and maybe a little sweeter. And you can really get into this.
It takes a lot of study. I mean, there's a lot of study.
Apparently, it does. A lot of tasting.
Which is why the Beer Fest, can help you with that.
Exactly.
It's educational.
We're coming up on a break here. We will give you the particulars on the Beer Fest and the Foundry when we come back, so don't go away.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Okay.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We've been talking with Georg Ubenthal about the Beer Fest, which is a fundraiser for the Royal Mary Council for the Arts, coming up on Saturday, September 24th. You can show up and get in it for $40. It's in the afternoon, right?
Right, after, I think it's, if you show up at the gate, it'd be 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. And then you can come earlier as a VIP, buy your tickets in advance, go to the website. Also look for the Foundry Growler Station, which Georg and his partners will be opening within a month or so on North 5th Avenue, so you can get a few growlers to take home. I know, Greg, you're going to get a growler too.
Sure.
Thank you.
I get a growler.
For being with us. We'll see you next time on Community Watch.